LATIKA book last updated 0425, August 4, 2017. You're worse than I am, US President Donald Trump, right, told Australian Prime Minister, left, when the latter boasted about his country's tough stance on asylum seekers. When Malcolm Turnbull boasted that under Australia's hardline approach to asylum seekers, not even a Nobel Prize-winning genius would be let in if they had come by boat, US President Donald Trump told the Australian Prime Minister that is a good idea. We should do that too. You are worse than I am, a leaked transcript reveals. The Washington Post has obtained what it says are White House transcripts of the U.S. president's first phone calls with the leaders of Australia and Mexico. They show Trump repeatedly blasting Turnbull over the refugee swap deal negotiated under the Obama administration. Australian PM Malcolm Turnbull was berated by Donald Trump over a refugee deal agreed to by former U.S. President Barack Obama. The U.S. president described his conversation with Turnbull as the most unpleasant call he had taken from world leaders that day, which included Russian President Vladimir Putin, Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe and Germany's Chancellor Angela Merkel. Read more. Turnbull roasts Trump on winning polls and Russia. This is the worst deal ever. Trump badgers and brags in Turnbull call. Turnbull rules out special deal for Trump over refugee row. Sign up for the latest news from Trump's America. The tense conversation ended with Trump reluctantly agreeing to honor the deal but describing his call with Putin as pleasant compared to his one with Turnbull, which he said was ridiculous. The Washington Post, earlier this year, revealed the tense phone call that had taken place between Turnbull and Trump on January 28, over the refugee swap deal. The transcript published on Thursday, Friday NZ Times shows Trump struggled to understand why Australia's asylum seeker policy, asking why the government didn't just free the detainees, expressed fears Australia could be exporting new Boston bombers and repeated lambasted Turnbull for the stupid deal, which he said he hated. As part of his pleas for the new administration to uphold the deal, Turnbull said Australia would take anyone the US wanted it to take in return. The conversation also confirmed Australia would take refugees from Central America as part of the arrangement, contradicting the Australian government's public insistence that the deal was not a swap. This is a very big issue for us, particularly domestically, Turnbull said. According to the transcript, it requires, in return, for us to do a number of things for the United States. This is a big deal. I think we should respect the deal. We will then hold up our end of the bargain by taking in our country 31 inaudible that you need to move on from. We are taking people from the previous administration that they were very keen on getting out of the United States. We will take more. We will take anyone that you want us to take, Turnbull promised as the president hit out at the rotten deal. I am going to get killed on this thing, Trump said. I will be seen as a weak and ineffective leader in my first week by these people. This is a killer, the US president said, pointing out that it would contradict his hardline call for people from Muslim-majority countries to be banned from traveling to the United States. He also asked for Turnbull's assurances that Australia would not be exporting terrorists. We have our San Bernardinos, we have had the World Trade Center come down because of people that should not have been in our country, and now we are supposed to take 2,000. It sends such a bad signal. You have no idea. It is such a bad thing. At one point, Trump asked who made the deal. Obama. Turnbull had to repeatedly explain Australia's border protection policies and the terms of the deal to Trump, who appeared to struggle to comprehend the arrangement, and correct the president's claim that Australia would send 2,000 refugees to the U.S. Turnbull said the actual figure was 1,250. Turnbull said the United States could decide to take as few refugees as it decided and that the obligation is to only go through the process. At one point he agreed with Trump about the prospect of the U.S. vetting but then deciding to accept no refugees. But he added that he would expect the U.S. to act in good faith. He described all Australia's detainees on Nauru and Manus Island as safe and mostly economic refugees from Iran, Pakistan and Afghanistan. They have been under our supervision for over 3 years now and we know exactly everything about them, he assured the president. He added that if they had come by plane, they would be in Australia. Trump struggled to comprehend why Australia discriminated against people coming by boat and asked why the Australian government didn't just free the detainees if they had been deemed safe. Turnbull said the policy was aimed at stopping people smuggler networks selling dangerous sea voyages to Australia, and when he outlined Australia's harsh approach to asylum seekers who come by boat as saying not even a Nobel Prize-winning genius would be allowed to settle in Australia, Trump praised the Australian leader as even worse than himself. That is a good idea. We should do that too. You are worse than I am. Malcolm sick. Why is this so important? I do not understand. This is going to kill me, the president said at one point. Australia prioritized Christians over Syrians. Turnbull also boasted to the US president, who proposed a ban on Muslims during the election campaign, that Australia had prioritized Christians from Syria. This is exactly what we have done with the program to bring in 12,000 Syrian refugees, 90% of which will be Christians, Turnbull said. It will be quite deliberate, and the position I have taken, I have been very open about it, is that it is a tragic fact of life that when the situation in the Middle East settles down, the people that are going to be most unlikely to have a continuing home are those Christian minorities. We have a similar perspective in that respect, he told the US president. Turnbull agrees with Trump on German Chancellor Angela Merkel. Both leaders rubbished Merkel's open-door policy to accept refugees fleeing the Syrian conflict. Trump suggested that Merkel regretted her decision. Look at what has happened in Germany. Look at what is happening in these countries. These people are crazy to let this happen. I spoke to Merkel today, and believe me, she wishes she did not do it. Germany is a mess because of what happened, he said. Turnbull told Trump it was another area where they were in agreement. I agree with you, letting 1 million Syrians walk into their country. It was one of the big factors in the Brexit vote, frankly. Turnbull also described himself as like Trump, as they were both highly transactional businessmen. Sydney Morning Herald.